Well, we're rolling now, so that's fine. That's not even yeah, it doesn't matter. That's good. Great.
Are we rolling?
Rolling.
Rolling.
Oh,
that angle that you're doing, mate. I think there's all sorts of safeguarding issues.
Oh
and your
gosh,
mic.
what's going on?
Oh, I love those poddy things.
Hello.
Are they pods?
Do you like them? No, they're Crocs.
Oh, Crocs. I knew there was something. I've been in the pod talking to the people in the pod. That's why I think everything's a pod right now.
It's quite early as well.
Let me just check what you got on the visitors pass, by the way. Okay. John Smith. I've got you. That's his real name, everybody.
Oh no, he's figured me out.
We've caught him out finally.
Yeah, hello. Thank you very much for having me, Altaf.
It looks like it's the first time we've ever met.
Don't you
dare!
are
we meant to be? Oh, sorry.
Don't you dare, you cheeky! Oh my gosh, this guy. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Luton's Deadpool podcast
guys.
with me, Luton's Deadpool, and my special guest today, Altaf Hussain.
Dun dun dun! Is this where I rip my shirt and show the Superman? We were just talking, guys, about who would win the battle between Superman and Deadpool.
Yeah.
You guys, you can go back and give us a comment, see who would win.
I'd love to hear this because really, that's actually quite a good question because Deadpool can just regenerate, right? And Superman is almost immortal himself, so it's actually quite a.
So basically, if I was Superman, which in my own head, in my own world, is a case out there, I would just constantly be kind of ripping your limbs off.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, to be honest with you, that's all the fight would be, wouldn't it? It wouldn't be like an actual.
Do you know what I would do? I would be
ripping
your limbs off and then putting it in different 55 metal boxes, and then you can't regenerate. There you go, guys. I've just found the way to defeat Deadpool.
Yeah, but what if like loads of little tiny Deadpools emerge from each box instead? Like it turns into a little tiny Deadpool.
It'd be a little toe and a little ankle.
Oh, okay, yeah,
a toe's not really going to kind of stress me out much, is it? Anyway, are we rolling?
Yeah, speaking about toes, Altaf, I had a question gave to me by a very big fan of yours, and they wanted to know: do you
just
have,
the one?
Yeah. Do you have ticklish feet?
Do I have ticklish feet? Well, do you know what? I think is that kind of a Nisa actor?
Oh, this is exactly there. She is laughing behind the camera. She was like, "Can you please make this your first question?"
I think the issue I've got is after she knows I've got an issue with feet. I think that I'm seeing a therapist after I'm working my way through my issues. Actually, but anytime you talk about feet, it's like similar when you talk about vomit. It just doesn't make me feel comfortable at all. So I haven't answered your question at all.
No, you haven't.
Guess what? You will never get the opportunity to find out.
Okay, all right, that's fair enough.
Unless this works out really well.
Anissa, I'm sorry. I try my best. No, but let's be a little bit serious now because you are a really important person. I really want to like get to the bare bones of like who you are and what you do because you do some great stuff, man. Okay. And what I love about you is you always do it with a laugh and a smile. You know what I mean?
Life's too short, isn't it?
Exactly. So yeah, I first met you last year at the Queen's Jubilee.
It was here, wasn't it?
Yes, you gave me a very special invite.
And you got us into a code red when after we forgot to tell our security team and they saw this random guy in a masked thing with God knows wherever coming in.
Yeah.
And do you know what? I remember that because that's one of the most bizarre moments in my life where we're in the theatre listening to all these and after there's a picture of me sitting with you and we're just looking really serious.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I don't know what the world has happened. but yeah, that was the first time we met.
Yeah, it was such a great day as well. Like the event that you guys put on with the students. I
was down to that lady there. I thought that was a big major event, and it was like one of the best events that we've had.
It really was. Really the performances from the students were just insane. Your arts department are wonderful. They do so much good stuff for the art community in the town, and what they do for the kids here. I mean, I know that in sixth form, arts is a massive part of what you guys do. So yeah, tell me a bit about it.
It's a massive part of our character and our ethos. I think government policy being what it is, it's kind of implied over the last decade that we only need engineers, we only need lawyers, and we only need which we do, but actually the creatives, we need creatives really. And despite the kind of feedback from government where they've tried to kind of cut the arts a little bit, we want to keep on thriving with our arts department. They're amazing. They bring something new. Our students are fantastic. They can do art and design. They can do design technology. They can do kind of media, and they can combine it with a subject like biology. So it's that mix and match. Yeah. So the world needs a combination of actually mathematicians and creatives to make the world a better place. So
100%.
It's really important for us. We're not going to get rid of it. It's really important for our community.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
That was quite serious there for a minute, wasn't it? Oh, wow, okay.
What happened?
Something about that, yeah.
What happened? Do we need to like pinch you and wake
you up?
Yeah,
I know. Or tickle my feet, whichever one you want to go for.
No, but you're right. Obviously in Luton, what I think is behind like part of the resurgence of our community and like this insane positive vibe that's going on in the town. I think it's a lot to do with the culture and the arts in the town. Things like the Luton Carnival, things like you guys, things like NGYT, the Hat Works and Hat Factory, all of them sort of places. Sort of the Bear Club as well. Like all these really like artistic sort of inspirational parts of the town are just all coming together and then using their voices to show that like we're more than just these headlines you get. Like we can produce some really cool stuff and we can entertain people.
Yeah, but isn't that just symbolising what's great about the Luton community? You know, it's got that compassion, that kindness, that grit, that resilience. You just described pretty much what Luton is all about, and the arts and the cultures is one facet of the massive tapestry that is Luton and what we love about Luton. You know, we I think we were voted, I don't think I know, the third most generous town.
I know, it's crazy.
Not so long ago. I think we should have been number one. I don't know who the other two were. If I'm honest, I wasn't that bothered. Bothered about. You see that in every walks of life. And I've been listening to your podcast, and I think what's come out from all of it is exactly that grit, that kind of, I don't know, that's something, that X factor about Luton, which is small, big, micro, macro. You know, we talked about superheroes earlier on, and we've got 265,000 superheroes every single day getting up, doing two jobs, actually trying to be the best that they can be, trying to work through poverty. So, you know, you symbolise that. And I'm sorry to say this, but there's another 264,000 999 superheroes that walk through our streets, walk through my doors every single day, and it's something that I'm really proud to be part of. And I know you are as well.
That was beautiful what you said just then. Like you're
not going to cut that bit out there.
No,
okay,
no.
We finished there then, because I think I'm on a peak now.
Just peaked.
It's just going to go downhill from now.
I'm just warning you. You've done it too early, man.
Story of my life, man. That's another issue. So carry on. And by the way, what do I call you by? Do I call you Mr. Paul or Dead? Or DP.
You call me a
DP. I think that's got a whole. Is it just So I don't have to even said that.
You call me something different every time I see you.
Okay, fine. Hello. I don't know what that is. I'm trying to. I need to ask
Skynet's taking over.
People always think when this comes over, I'm recording the conversation. It all gets a little bit weird. I'm not. I don't know what it's.
It just starts talking to you.
Yeah, just say something. Yeah. Right. So Altaf, do I call you? I'm serious.
Well, okay. So because DP is a bit weird, I tell people to call me LDP.
What's LDP then?
Luton's Deadpool.
Oh, okay, fine. LDP.
You're just thinking of too many bad things.
I'm overthinking.
Oh my gosh,
I'm overthinking.
You're going to get us both in trouble.
Okay, no. Well, look, if people have got their own minds. I'm just stating facts. There you go. Anyway, sorry, carry on. I'm sure you've got a script that you're following.
No, I actually don't.
Story of my
life.
I
love it, man. It's like, don't you find that just being like not prepared for something actually can sometimes lead to better results?
Isn't that amazing? I think I say to people all the time is that every day you should have at least 1 or 2 butterflies in your stomach.
Yeah.
Every day your knees should be knocking a little bit, thinking, wow, do you know why? Because that shows that you're alive. And do you know what? It shows that you care.
Yeah.
And we talked about superpower, but anxiety, you know, because I've listened to a lot about talk about mental health, etc., and it's a massive challenge. But we can flip the lens, can't we? We can use anxiety as our superpower. We can actually flip that and say, actually, well, it's a motivator. It's actually kind of what's in our genes.
So that's such a good way of looking
being
at it.
A little bit. So if you rewind back to the hunter-gatherer time,
okay,
our software hasn't been updated since. So we had 3 priorities that we had when we were back tens of thousands of years ago. It was firstly to survive. I think because we were worried about getting eaten by a saber-toothed tiger or being attacked by another tribe. It was to survive the food, the lack of food or the cold, and find shelter. And the other one was actually to procreate, to keep the human race going. And by the time I'd hit 25, 26, I'll probably be dead. I'd probably been killed by a tribe or killed by a saber-toothed tiger. But I'd done my job. My software had been done. I've done the job. I've kept my family safe. I've actually procreated and I've kept things going. And then I die. Now what's happened is because of technology and everything is that I've got another 60 years to be thinking about the meaning of life. When actually, I've done it. I've achieved. Really, I've done what I've survived. I've had to move forward. But then we spend a lot of our time thinking, what is there more? But no, you've done it. Now enjoy the rest of your life. But I think we still haven't quite kind
of.
But
then that software, like what you talk
hasn't been updated.
So then, even once you pass the point of when you've achieved.
No, I didn't either.
No, I didn't. Dude, like we need to get you a microphone if you want to be on the.
Apple, you need to give me another watch if you're watching this. Can I have a better watch, please? Yeah.
Yeah, but
there are other watches out there, by the way. Can I just say, yeah, carry on.
Oh, mate, no. I'm sorry. All right, I need to get myself.
I'm a really important guy. My time is money here. Come on.
I'm sorry.
Look, you've got thousands to be in this enclosed space.
Okay, right. So
you haven't got COVID, by the way. You should have done it. You haven't got the.
It doesn't matter. Look how thick this mask is.
Yeah, fine.
You're fine.
I didn't even know where to look. They said it's just the most bizarre
right here. Okay, right here. That's where the magic is.
Okay, there's a bromance going on here. Can you close the camera off for a bit? We're on the COVID couch as well. I shouldn't call that, by the way. That's the wrong thing. Okay, yeah. It's Owl's Lounge. By the way,
this is Owl's Lounge.
Yeah,
welcome to Owl's Lounge. You should get a neon sign.
Yeah.
It says Owl's Lounge.
Yeah, okay. Not red light. Can you imagine? No, okay, fine. Anyway, carry on.
Right, so cavemen. Oh my god.
Yeah,
I don't even know how to do this.
Yeah, going back thousands of years ago.
So
you can see why I think
what you're saying.
Yeah, software hasn't been updated.
It makes sense.
You need to recognise it.
Because once you've achieved the thing that you set out to achieve,
which many of us have.
Yeah, exactly. You may have had
just don't
children,
think we have.
You may have like actually got on the career path that you wanted or whatever it is. Then it's like you've still got that mentality of like survival, of like fear of what's around the corner, but it's just we're not scared of saber-toothed tigers anymore. We're scared of losing our jobs or losing our families or failing at something that you normally do quite well, or losing the things that you've succeeded in, like the downfall, and like they're the things that now are saber-toothed tigers. Do you know what I mean?
Is our perception, because look, we're living in the UK. Okay, despite all the challenges that we have got here, we still are unlikely to, there are people in the world, context is really, really important, who genuinely haven't got running water, who genuinely step out and feel that they might be shot in the head, or generally can't send their child to school because they may be kind of trafficked, etc. That's fear. Fear. That's genuine. That's real fear. There's a lot of, it's called anticipatory anxiety. I talk to a lot of people who are forever worrying about something that hasn't happened. And, my wife is like that, so she'll worry about that, etc. And that's great. But then in my view, I just suffer twice. If I'm worrying about some things in this country, I hope that we'll never be in a position where we're starving to death. Okay. It's sad that right now we've got food banks, and it's a disgrace that in this day and age, we have still got families who are finding it difficult to put food on the table. Are they starving to death? I don't know. I don't really.
In comparison to like some war-torn countries,
etc. Okay, that doesn't make it better. By the way, I'm not kind of saying it isn't disgusting. Are there situations that yes, a lot of our Luton residents are in poor housing?
Yeah,
they have shelter, but it could be better. But there are families in the world out there that actually, when we were in Malawi, we do lots of work with Malawi as a college, and actually there are, they haven't got heat. The water is after you walk 15 meters after you get water. Context is always really, really important. But what saddens me is, and I said this at the Luton 2040 launch last week, which I was very proud to launch on behalf of the council.
Massive.
It's a big deal.
It's a really big deal.
In my speech, I talked about my parents and my grandparents. 60 years ago, they came from India. My grandparents are from India, and then the partition happened, and they had to go from one end of India to the other, saw death, saw poverty, saw murder in front of their eyes, and then they came to the UK. And they had three priorities. They had to give me food, give me shelter, and give me the best education they could possibly give me. They couldn't speak the language. Their legislation, the laws weren't there to protect them. They could only live in certain places because the indigenous population didn't want them in certain areas. we only had certain jobs. So my dad worked in a factory, my mum worked in a factory. I come from a poor background.
Yeah.
We were poor in money, but we were rich in aspirations.
Yeah.
And you know what breaks my heart? After 60 years later, I go out there and there are families now who are worried about food, worried about shelter, worried about giving their child the best education because they're worrying about things. And that I have a problem with that. When COVID taught everyone lots of life lessons, what it taught us about our amazing students here, 3,200 of them, that when we went into lockdown, you remember that? That was a surreal time for everyone. I still remember March the 20th, leaving here, the last person to leave, thinking, what is happening, really? And at the time, it made me realize how out of touch our government was, because they had this very romantic ideal that everyone is locked down. So all my parents were sitting with their child and quoting Shakespeare and talking about this and everything else. And actually, they were able to do online learning because actually they all had an Apple Mac or a kind of laptop. The reality of the situation with my young people is 70% of them come from deprived backgrounds, disadvantaged backgrounds. 42% of them are on free school meals. So when COVID hit, my parents of those children were too busy about worrying about their jobs, too worried about after thinking, am I going to have a job to go to? On universal credit, thinking, what's going on here? They maybe were living in a 2-bedroom council house, had 4 kids, and they had 1 device between them. So that romantic ideal just wasn't there. So the reality of the situation didn't match with the rhetoric that we were hearing from government. And that disappoints me, because my elected leaders need to understand and know what people are going through. And I remember when I was appointed principal, and of course I'll say this, is I said that the future Prime Minister of this country will come from Luton, Sixth-form College. The future scientist that finds a cure for cancer will come from Luton and Luton Sixth-form College. Because if you want to be a Prime Minister, you need to understand your people. I was talking to a group of our students a few weeks ago, and they were saying, oh, it's really great, isn't it, that we've got a Prime Minister that is like us. And I said, oh, no, bless.
Because he's not like us.
For me, it's poverty then is exacerbated by someone's race or disability or religion or sexuality. For me, that's my opinion, is it's exacerbated by the lack of social mobility, the lack of actually poverty. I'm not saying that the people who are rich don't have actually mental health issues.
Of course.
But in my view, it's a poverty actually that starts, and it is exacerbated, because then if you're poor and then you are from a certain protected characteristic, I suspect your mental health might be even more, because the mental health of lots of our parents was less about focusing on their child as much as they'd like to, but thinking about, I've got a job, I've got to do 3 jobs. Many of my parents and my students are having to do 2 or 3 jobs just to keep food on the table, just to keep shelter above there. And that simply isn't good enough. It just isn't good enough, and we need to do something about it. And we do. There's lots of local action, lots of community, people like you, people like us, raising lots of money for charity. But unless we address the root cause, there's got to be massive investment in education, health, and actually our security, policing. Those are the 3 points of the triangle.
I agree. I agree massively with that.
And it saddens me that actually that it almost feels like the government wants food banks to succeed, because then it takes the pressure off them.
They're almost proud of food banks, right?
Well,
do you know what I mean? The way that they talk about
we should be proud of the volunteers, but there's a bigger thing.
What the government are proud of is the fact that they're making so many of them, and that should be a travesty that you're having to have.
So you're proud of actually not having invested in the people who need you most.
Exactly.
A measure of a college, an institution of our size, of society, how it treats the most vulnerable in your society. That is the barometer, not how you treat the most kind of affluent in society. That's relatively easy. So I do have a problem, and maybe I'm just getting old and miserable, but I'm getting a little bit more. I'm seeing things for what they are, and our young people, who, by the way, are very socially astute, very politically aware, they are seeing more and more now actually that the behaviours and the intentions don't match between the people who we've elected in these in government stuff. And maybe there's a time for change. Maybe we need to. What's the worst that could happen? What's the worst that could happen?
I mean, this is the problem though for me, is that where does change come from? It's got to come from a change of government, right? Because I don't think that they're changing their ways anytime soon.
And a review of the people, the civil servants.
Yeah.
So what happens is after the ministers, primes come and go, but the civil servants, they're still there. So the root and branch. Now it depends if someone has the courage to do that, but a lot of it is a lack of investment over a long period of time in education, in health, and now we're getting the results of that. And actually, it's people like us who are suffering, people like us who can't afford private healthcare, people like us who actually can't afford a private tutor for their child to actually get those grades. And that's just disgusting.
Do you know what? I'll give you a good example of that, actually. So I'm going to Gambia, right? Do you know about that?
I didn't know that.
No, I'm looking to go to Gambia in towards the end of March to go and help a charity out there.
What's your passport picture like then?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Right, to try. Got your passport on you?
No, I don't.
Okay. I was gonna grapple you to the ground. And great, and I'll just show it to everybody on up there. Like, there you go.
Yes, I will have to go through like passport control and everything, like unmasked. But, you know, nobody's going to know what's going on.
When you go, what time's your flight?
No, but when I go to Gambia, obviously I need to get certain immunisations done.
Yeah, I remember Malawi, same thing. Yeah, there's anti-malaria and
you've got to take all the pills and stuff. Yeah. So there's actually 3 immunisations that I need to get, but they're free on the NHS, right? But if they're not free on the NHS, if I have to pay for them, they're really about £190.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And that's the three free ones. There's another 3 that I need to get, which are going to cost up to £200, right? So this is going to be a very expensive trip. Now, if my GP's surgery could give travel immunisations, I'll be getting these 3 for free. But for some reason, they don't. I don't know why. But it's free on the NHS, but my GP surgery just doesn't do travel immunisations. And I'm pretty sure that when I was a kid, most GP surgeries did. I'm not sure if it was different. I'm pretty sure that when I was very little, I had family who was going away and they get everything done in GPs.
But it goes back to what we said earlier. The reason for that is actually that woeful lack of investment in the NHS. So as a result, GPs are way overworked. We need so much more GPs. So you have 1 GP in a practice where we should be having 5.
Yeah.
So guess what? That poor GP is actually kind of doing 15-hour days, and then things have to go. And the first thing that has to go is actually things like you just mentioned. If you're rich, you can afford to then go private, etc. So those are the things which I believe are stopping our people getting to that next level. There's this kind of little ceiling, and we get patronized, we get patted on the head and say, oh yeah, we're working hard for you.
Yeah.
But actually, the big things are not changing.
And it's actually getting worse, if anything.
Well,
for people on the lower end, it's like the gap's getting bigger between the rich and the poor.
Well, I'll give you some facts, actually. So in 2023, so this year that's just gone, the gap for students actually sitting their SATs and GCSEs between the poorest and their peers got wider. Okay, so the reason for that is after we had the COVID, we've got the COVID residue. Deprived young people from poor backgrounds, they were worse off. So for GCSEs, that gap widened. So all the work we'd done for about 10 years prior was wiped out because of the COVID legacy. So young people who've actually already, and our young people are warriors. They fight. They are great. They are determined. They want to be the very best that they can be. But it's all well and good having that desire. But if the system, if the bureaucracy, if actually all that is actually working against you, then it's hard. It doesn't matter how desirable you are, and then actually that can wear you down.
Yeah,
really.
I mean, like, just as, for instance, if say you've got students that's coming into college and they can't eat in the mornings because it just isn't the facility at home to do that. Like the parents
can only afford 1 meal.
There's only 1 meal a day. Yeah, can you imagine what that must be like coming into school to then learn? Like,
imagine your impact on your self-esteem and your confidence. Luton people are proud.
Yeah,
we are proud people. Actually, we don't want handouts. We don't. We feel we just want to work and actually just get what we deserve. So we've actually reflected on that. So we give a free breakfast. So in the mornings, after we're open, and after they get croissant and everything else, because you know what? It breaks my heart. I think even now, I think that might be the only meal they have until they go back home. That's not good enough. But it goes back to the funding. So once again, when I did the Luton 2040 launch, I talk about the inequity between funding. And let me give you some facts. I think otherwise,
the viewers
looking at the guy, you just get facts. Always like facts. I think to give to back up an argument. So we get funded from the government for each of our students. So then we can have to keep the lights going, pay for teachers. 70% of our costs are to pay for the 450 staff that are here to give our young people a fantastic service.
Yeah.
Now, do you want to have a guess? Roughly, how much do you think that I get per student? And I'm putting you on the spot. Roughly.
What, for the entire term?
For 1 year.
For 1 year.
Actually. I'll give you a clue.
I think it's quite a lot, really.
Yeah, and I'm really interested because I bet the people looking at it think,
tens of thousands, maybe.
Okay, per student a year.
Yeah.
Okay, so I get paid £4,542 per student.
No.
Okay, now that is it's like running a house. So I've got bills to pay: electricity, gas, paying people's wages.
Yeah.
Running it. This is a huge entity.
Yeah, of course.
You being here, it's a huge college, and there's costs that we have, income, expenditure, very simple accountancy. So £4,552. Now, not so far away, we've actually got private schools, and I've got no issues about parents actually are well off and actually want to give their kids the best that they can give them. Every parent wants that. I've got no issues with that. But we have got private schools literally about 10, 15 minutes away that we get compared against all the time. Rightly or wrongly, I think unfairly.
Yeah,
now, one of those private schools, I won't name the school, it's a fee-paying school. How much do you think they get from the parents? It's a private, we're public, they're private. How much do you think they get a year compared to my 4,542?
Like I say, for kids' education, I think it's in the tens of thousands.
£25,000.
Oh my gosh,
okay,
that is such a big gap.
Okay, but just stop for a minute. Okay, so I am trying to offer kind of private experience on public pricing. So I get £4,552 per student a year. I'm up against a private company. That's in effect what it is, a private school. That's getting £25,000, 5 times what I'm getting.
Yeah.
And then I'm being asked to kind of do all these things, give them extra, and we do that. We have to look at what we've got, the limited amount of resources. So we try to be open 24/7. We try to offer kind of private tuition from our staff, our families as well. So we're just trying to get the balance right.
It must be so difficult to get that all good, and to keep everybody happy as well, and to make this place a good option for kids to come to, which, by the way, is without a doubt the place of choice in Luton, man. It is. What you do for your students. I talk to a lot of your students, and there's such good feedback about the quality of teaching and the care from the teachers as well, and from yourself. You're just such a big person in the community, and you, Anissa. I'm going to big you up as well.
She's not. She's had her bit. Don't bring her into the mix.
Pair of you, what you do for the town and for the students, it means so much. Because without, if you just was here to just do a job, right? That 4,900 whatever pounds.
4,500.
4,000.
Sorry, give me 4,900.
Give us a bit more.
Really nice,
But 4,500 in the hands of someone that doesn't care as much is dangerous to
we've got to use, it's public money, so we've actually got to sweat every little penny out of those 4,500. And it's really nice of you to say. I'll back it up with fact, really, in terms of actually. So 68% of year 11s will come to Luton Sixth-form College, almost 70%. So we are the first choice for you. When I was listening to your podcasts, many of the people there were alumni of Luton Sixth-form College. They may have been to different schools in Luton, brilliant. But do you know what? There's a fair chance that they will come through the funnel that is Luton Sixth-form College. We're the oldest sixth-form college in the country. We've been here for over 55 years, etc. So if you are a Lutonian, and if you are a doctor, or you are an engineer, or you are a graphic designer, or there's a very good chance
you've been
through our doors. And
that must make you so proud.
Well, I'm proud of those young people and the families have actually put their trust in our hands, because that's a big deal. And for us to do the very best for those young people, despite all the obstacles that they come through. And that is what we do. We are a college for the community. You know, we have, as I said, 3,200 young people. We're good as far as Ofsted concerned. We want to be outstanding. That, you know, I think that's the least that we deserve. We have, I believe, one of the best Luton Sixth-form colleges in the country. I've gone on Twitter. You've been here a few times. It's amazing.
It's beautiful.
Really. This is the least
what you
that
do
our
at the
young people
different
deserve.
points in the year as well. How you get involved in the festivities, and you make such a big show of everything, and it's like that's a big draw as well. Is that, you know, you don't just want to be just the educator. You want to be like this big community thing that makes everybody go, wow, what are they going to do next?
Well, it's community cohesion.
It's amazing.
You know, your podcast and a lot of people exactly. It's all about the community. All about the community. We believe we are part of that community. But can I just say, I'm not a community leader. I always worry about people who say that. Firstly, the community is not a homogenous group. There's layers. I think it's a very lazy term. Of community. Well, what does that mean then? Does that encompass everybody?
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a good point. My community is Luton Sixth-form College. Yeah. My job is actually to give our young people and their families reassurance that we are doing our best by them with the resources that we've got to help them change lives. You know, that is really what it is. And we could raise our entry requirements. We have some of the lowest entry requirements because we're an inclusive sixth-form college compared to other sixth-form colleges. We could raise them, Jed Paul. The reason why they're lower, because some people think, oh, well, that's because they've got low standards. No, it isn't. Because every year we have 900 young people who have to resit their maths and English GCSE because they just didn't work out in the schools. If we raise our entry requirements, then they wouldn't be able to come here.
Yeah.
We'd be turning our back on the very young people that we are meant to be serving. And, you know, around about 70% of those level 2, the GCSE resit students, then will go on to doing A-levels or a BTEC and then go on to university. That is social mobility. That is putting my money where our mouth is, not paying lip service to diversity and communication. No, we will change things around. I've had many kind of chairs who say, well, actually, it'd be great to have Ofsted outstanding. I said, I can give you outstanding Ofsted. It's not that hard. You socially engineer the young people that come through, you weed out the most vulnerable in society, and then, yeah, you can get Ofsted, but I believe, because we're much more than that. We are something.
It's like you don't want to leave anybody behind.
Why should we?
Exactly. And
Why should we?
You think it's like I've got a friend who, when we left school, I'm sure he wouldn't mind talking. I'm not going to mention his name anyway, but when we left school, he got expelled in year 9 or year 10.
Yeah, he made maybe wrong choices.
Really bad choices. He went to like a SEN school, I guess, and he studied there, but left school with 0 GCSEs. He done really, really badly. He had to retake his maths and English and science, and when he done that, he started a very, very long process. Whilst everybody else was working and just, you know, trying to get a bit of money in and stuff like that, or some people going to university, he was basically resitting school, and it took him maybe, I don't know, about almost 6 or 7 years, right, of his time. But when he came out the other side of it, he joined up with the TA, and then he started learning how to be a paramedic. And now he's one of the most highly qualified paramedics you can find in the country.
And I don't even know him, but I'm proud of him.
Yeah,
imagine the moments where he wanted to give up. Imagine those moments after when he
got told by people over and over and over again. I was there. I saw him cry. You know, I saw the struggle of what he had to go through, and to think that at the very end of his journey, he made it more than anybody around us. And it's because he had teachers that believed in him, firstly, and people that would get him onto courses when maybe he didn't have the entry requirements to get on. But do you know what? His grades weren't relevant to who he is and how determined he is. And all it took was belief from people to go, yeah, I think you can do it. I'm going to back you. And then it was up to him to do the work. Don't get me wrong. It's not like he got help to do the work. He's heavily dyslexic as well. You know, he had a lot of challenges.
Lots of obstacles. Yeah, but there were people there to help him overcome those obstacles.
Yeah.
And that's all of us have. I think everybody has stuff. We're all trying to be the best that we can be. We're all trying to actually come from a kind and compassionate place. And I love that about Luton, because it's going to be tough over the next few years.
Yeah.
And there's a real danger, which will never happen in Luton. That's why I love the place, is kindness and compassion will be secondary and everyone will start thinking about themselves. No. And that's why I've stayed here for so long. I choose to work in Luton. I think I could choose to work anywhere, I choose.
Yeah, let's talk about that actually, because you're not from Luton, obviously, are you?
No,
Where are you from?
Do you know what? Well, originally, do you want my life story?
Yes, I want your life story. Yeah, please.
So I was born in the Midlands, in Stoke-on-Trent. My family have lived in Manchester, in Longside. I know it's about 2 minutes away from Moss Side. I have the reputation for this. I've never had a problem. It's one of the safest places I've ever felt. I feel comfortable there. It's a great community, etc., etc. So, and then I've worked in Reading. I actually sort of studied in Birmingham. So that's why when I get overexcited, I go from being Liverpoolian to Scottish. To it just goes all over the place, etc. I'm trying. This is my posh voice, by the way, and I'm failing miserable.
Yeah, you want to hear him off camera.
So I live just south of Peterborough. And that's where my wife's family is from. And I commute. So it's basically, I do, what was it? I shouldn't say this. That is county lines every day, really. I go from Cambridgeshire to Altaf every day. So I'm up, I'm a morning person. I'm really annoying. I'm like actor. She's just annoying. But I'm annoying. I'm really happy about life. I'm a morning person. I'm up at 5 o'clock, out the house by about 6 o'clock, in the car, ready to rock and roll. And I think my energy levels drop round about kind of 8 o'clock in the evening. I'm irritated.
Really? You're like this all day?
I'm really irritated. And I think my staff and my students stop nodding. Okay, my family thinking, you must put it on, actually. And it's really hilarious. I think, you know, one of these things happen where, you know, people come to me and say, are you okay? And I'll go to, do you know what? I woke up, then everything's a bonus. The sun is shining. Do you know what? They look at me thinking, oh, okay, thank you. They'll go find someone else because they want me to say, no, it's rubbish there.
Yeah, they want to, but you're actually, everything's awesome and I love life.
There will be a moment in my life, I'm absolutely convinced, when I'm drawing my last breath on this earth, okay, I will look back and probably look back on a day when I thought that was the worst day in my life, and I'll pray to God thinking, I wish I could go back to that day. So until that moment, just suck the life out of life. It's just, why should I not? I make a choice. You know, your friend, everyone has a choice to make every 3 seconds of their life. They can choose to do this, choose to do that. What scares me is actually that many of our Luton residents want to choose to be the best that they can be, want to choose to be happy. But because of things out of their control, because of poverty, because there's not enough investment, because there's been a change in universal credit, because they see the people who are well off being even better off. Before COVID, we moved into recession. Do you know why? Because the banks decided to actually do lots of things and play around with our money, and they were bailed out with our money to the tune of £500 billion. And then those same bankers got bonuses. Our young people see that kind of lack of stuff. So, you know, I choose to be happy, but I'm blessed actually that I'm in a position. I had this really sobering conversation with my family ages ago, talking about my working class roots, and we come from, you know, my mum and dad couldn't afford to pay for the bus fare. I used to walk, etc. I had a key on my kind of necklace at the age of 7, and my mum would I would come in, make my own food, because they were doing 2 or 3 jobs. Many of our families are doing exactly the same right now. That breaks my heart, but they work their socks off. So as a result of all of those, I remember saying, oh yeah, and my kids looked at me and they started laughing and said, you're not working class. Look at you, you're in your suit, you're in a flash car, you're looking at it. And I said, and that cut me deep. I thought, but my heart is still working class. And that's why this work we do.
Do you know what personal. I must say, it's really important that you haven't lost yourself, because I find that I know a lot of people who have come from a similar background to myself, because, you know, I come from not intense poverty or anything like that, but, you know, it was hard for my mum when we was growing up. It was hard providing meals and stuff. And I've got friends that have come from that, but then they've done really well, and now they talk in disgust about people that use food banks. It's like they've just completely forgotten what it was like.
Well, shame on you. Shame on you, because there for the grace of God, my life could change like that. I could find out I've got some illness. I could find out that, no, it could happen to you. And I hate that bit. Actually, sort of, it's all about look, if you've come from that background, actually, then shame on you. It's like being racially abused and then racially abusing someone else. That's the worst, actually, because you know how that feels. And I see too many people who make people feel small so they can feel big. Well, do you know what? You own that behavior yourself, and that's on you. And for us, people like you, for all the wonderful people that I work with every day, our young people, I always say, make decisions and choices based on your core values. My core values are this: is curiosity, compassion, and integrity. If I make those decisions based on those three, and then people don't agree with my decisions or choices, they're entitled to their opinion. But I will be able to look at myself in the mirror, look at the people whose opinions I believe in, and thinking, yeah, I've done the right thing. People may or may not agree with it. And the other bit is I feel you're the average of the 5 or 6 people you hang around with the most.
Yeah.
They are. So look at the people who are around you, and I'm blessed. Actually, I've got a core group of people in this place who share those values. And do you know what? Our young people, they share those values as well.
Feeding off each other, isn't it?
It has to. Really good, it's a symbiotic kind of relationship, and that's why you and I probably get on. You know, You just know.
Exactly.
You just know. Really.
It's been since first moment I've met you. Same with Anissa. So there's a lot of people. I feel
that's the last time you mentioned Anissa. In her podcast.
Stop. She's amazing.
Did I get a kind of sound at any time in my part? Is it working? Is the sound?
No, I want to stop for a second. Hold on. Sorry about that.
All right.
Yeah.
Deadpool wants me to go to the toilet, but he's just pretending. That was quick, mate.
That was quick. Okay. Oh my god, the bloody microphone again. Excuse my language. Sorry. I know children listen to this. I really try not to swear, but I can't help it.
You're very kind.
I won't swear. I haven't sworn so far.
Yeah, don't tempt fate, mate.
Should we do like a whole minute of swear word? No, I'm joking.
I'm joking. Lose my job or something.
No, I'm joking. So what I wanted to ask you about as well was obviously we've had the teacher strikes going on recently, and there's been a lot of strikes going on in this country, and I mean, how do you feel about it as an educator yourself, the state of the funding towards schools and colleges?
We talked about the funding. I think ultimately, sort of everyone has their right to have their voice heard.
Yeah.
And we have very, very good relations with our union here. You know, we work closely with them. They've said from day one, their argument is not with us as a colleague. They fully understand that I have money coming in, and based on that money coming in, because if I would love to give our teachers a 20% pay increase, okay? And I would be the most popular principal in the history of principals for a year. And then the year later, when the government continues to cut my funding, I would then have to make people redundant. So I'd love to do that, but it's all based on if the government give me that money, then of course, but it goes back to the basic thing is because of decades of underinvestment in education and in health and in the policing, etc., it's now got to this point where actually they just need to bite the bullet and actually invest.
Yeah.
So everyone is trying to do their best. My staff are trying to feed their children. They are trying to think about their council tax. We're all the same. Council tax have gone up, petrol has gone up, expenses have gone up, the rate of inflation has gone up. And yet, actually, there isn't a recognition that nurses, teachers, doctors have got the same bills.
Yeah.
And do you know, in my opinion, why? Because if you are part of an establishment where your family are multimillionaires, you've never lived that life.
Yeah.
You don't probably talk about, paying the petrol because you sit in a chauffeured car and it kind of magically happens.
Don't even know how much it is. Do you know what I mean?
So in terms of my position, I fully support the kind of the position that the teachers are. They are saying enough's enough. We've got to do something because they've spent a long time trying to negotiate on the table and it just hasn't been heard. And they've identified a pay of about 11-12%. The government is saying up to 5%, and there's something in between. So they have lives and families.
And do you know what doesn't make any sense? Is that there is the money there. There is definitely money there. The government can. There is money.
You bailed out the banks for £500 billion. Then, look at the PPE
you made choices. Matt Hancock and these little cronies. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There was a lot of choices that have been made. Like Boris Johnson made choices to give contracts to people, and they were all just
choices. Everyone has to make choices and be held accountable for those choices. And if those choices were made with integrity, then fine. What we are hearing now from teachers, nurses, from students is they are now questioning the integrity of those choices, etc. There's always something going on. We go full circle to the teacher strikes. Is ultimately for those young people who are in private schools, they probably will have the impact on them will be less compared to the young people who actually then have got their kind of learning once again punctuated after COVID. So who suffers? It's us. We suffer again. So now to your question, I don't know if you thought that was a controversial thing. No, I think everyone's got every right, but this is much bigger than just the teachers. It's the doctors, the nurses, and all these people. Can I just say they are superheroes? They don't do it for the money.
They're the bedrock of our foundation.
They go extra miles. They've been paid for 8 hours, and then regularly they've been doing 15-hour shifts and been getting paid for 8 hours. And been doing that for 10 years, and now finally they're saying enough's enough. Now that
you cannot blame them at all. I spoke to a lot of teachers yesterday at the NEU rally in town, and it's so sad to hear when they say I can't heat my house and I'm struggling to feed my kids.
But why would anyone blame anyone? Because that's a judgment.
And then do you know what's the saddest thing is? Then I'm hearing from some of them saying I'm thinking about changing career, and this is what worries me is that. So there was a speaker yesterday who made a really great point. I can't remember who it was, but they made a really great point.
Might have been Steve Coughlin, one of ours. He's brilliant.
Maybe, but I honestly can't remember who it was saying it. But what they said was that the people that go into being doctors and nurses and policemen and teachers, they're often doing it because they want to help, and they actually that's not just a job to them; it's their life.
They are givers. They give without any expectation of receiving. They are the bedrock, the soul of society. And when you start actually putting at risk the soul of society, then you have a problem. And the people are now saying, no, it's not good enough. We want to do something. There's social action. We want to make our voice heard, because for too long our voice hasn't been heard. And it's actually been overtaken by lots of promises that haven't been kept, etc. So, look, who am I to judge? Judgments. Unless I've walked 1,000 miles in front of someone's footsteps, be very careful of judging anybody until you know exactly what is behind their story.
That's such a great point. That's such a great point. But I mean, let's move on from the sort of. I mean, I don't want to call it dour and depressing, but we've been very serious for a while now in this podcast. And I want to talk to you about some fun stuff, because Sixth Form does some really fun stuff that helps the community. And what have you guys got coming up?
Oh, what have we got coming up? Wow, where did I start? So we had the EPQ yesterday. We've got some diversity.
What's the EPQ?
Extended project qualification. So then it's on our Twitter. I think if you want to go on our Twitter, go on. I think I did a real
plug your socials.
Yes, please. We're the most followed college in terms of Twitter. So if you want to know about all the wonderful things that happen inside and outside the classroom, go on our Twitter page.
Yeah, it's a great
so
page.
That is, we had students doing projects on actually artificial intelligence, actually transplants and this, and they did a display. It was brilliant. These are some of the best young minds in Luton who were there doing a display and actually talking about it. It's amazing. I felt so thick. They are such bright individuals talking to them. I was just so proud of them. We've got Diversity Day coming up. When is that? Is that coming up soon? March the 10th, actually, and that was brilliant last year. Wow, our students came in dressed in their kind of original kind of national dress, and it was just a really good day.
That sounds awesome.
That's another one that we're looking forward to. We've got DAV. That's another one. I talk about social mobility. Lots of our young people would never do DAV because they saw it, if I'm honest, as a middle class kind of thing, etc., and also expensive as well. So we want to expand the Duke of Edinburgh. So after, when they go to employers and universities, they can talk broader about their extracurricular activities. But let me give you an example when it goes back to social mobility and the poverty. Is we were wondering, why aren't more and more of our young people taking on board the DAV? And we realised actually to go walking in Mount Snowdonia in the blizzard, you have to have waterproofs. And if you ever bought proper hiking boots,
no,
80 quid, 150 pound, really? 200 pound, proper stuff that you need to have to be protected against the elements when you're stuck on a mountain, probably cost 200-300 pound.
Even for a tent's even expensive.
Well, now we supply all that equipment. Now we supply the boots that they can borrow, and after the rev. because that was a block, that was an obstacle stopping some of our young people taking up DOV, which then further down the line is disadvantaged them when they go for interviews, as opposed to school kids from private schools who can do DOV and then can talk about when they went off to Zimbabwe and they did, because you know what, mum and dad's actually got the money to have to send them and pay for the immunization. All comes back to poverty, then not being able for you to not to make those choices which will help you to have to go and do wonderful things. Kind of gone back serious again, I think so. But it's fun and serious and fun. It's all directed towards them leaving here in 2 years, which after is 60 weeks, and doing wonderful things with their life. And give you the facts again. 98% of my students go into positive destinations, university, employment. 70% go to university. You know, those young people who go to universities, general universities, 89% of them will get a first class or a 2-1 degree.
That's really good.
For those young people who go to the top universities, Oxford and the Cambridge, and we have a lot of them, 94% of them will leave with a first class honours degree or a 2-1. Now, that's remarkable, despite all the issues they have, and yet they just get their head down, they have choices every day, and they choose to be the best that they can be. And that's what I'm proud of, and that's why you see me walking around the place just filled with pride and a smile.
No, I love it. I genuinely do, and I'm really proud of what sixth form is in our community. And
we should be. Our community should be proud.
What these kids, under your guidance and the teachers here, and
our guidance, our guidance is a community. We need the community to support the aspirations of Luton Sixth-form College, just like Luton Sixth-form College need the community. We're like this. We can't work without the others. So together we're stronger. You know, you hear that a lot. Together we will drive forward, but we are part of the community and we're proud of that role that we have.
Well, you guys are awesome, and I just want you to keep being awesome. And obviously, let me know about things that are coming up, because I'd love to come down and support and celebrate with you over all the different festivities across the year.
It'd be absolutely my pleasure.
Wicked, man. Well, thank you very much
for having me,
Altaf.
Take care.
And love you, Luton. See you later, man.
Take care.
Take care. Bye.